has Pakistan's because you were saying factory workers and construction workers. Now construction has been an enormous source of economic investment and gain in the past,
Yeah.
I would say 20-30 years, since the major projects, the barrier towns, etc., they've
Yeah, yeah,
sort of
yeah.
emerged. And so many people have gotten so rich in Pakistan that the math does not make sense, but
Yeah,
chalo,
exactly.
chal raha hai.
Hmm.
Factory workers, factories, industries, etc., I feel, based on my not having any research, I feel that this is a quickly declining sort of field,
Hmm.
a part of Pakistan's economy as compared to where perhaps things were 50 years ago.
Yeah.
Um, how has Pakistan's economy and the revenue contributors to the country, how has that mix up changed over
Um,
our life?
so manufacturing has stayed stagnant.
Okay.
So if you basically were to sort of look at, we hit about, I think, 15% in terms of our total GDP. Manufacturing as a total as a percentage of GDP was about 15%. 40, 50 years ago.
Right.
We're sort of maybe a few percentage points above that. So we're like 18, 19% now. And so there hasn't been this large scale transformation towards just Pakistan becoming like a hub of factories where people are just
Sure.
building things
Yeah.
and ideally exporting them. That's not happening,
Yeah.
right? And but the other thing that's changed is the nature of jobs within those factories has also deteriorated. So pehle, up till the 1960s and 70s, if you were a factory laborer, you worked in a paper mill or a textile mill or wherever, you had stable employment, most likely a pension plan, health insurance, and you had a number of other labor protections, right?
Yeah.
Now what happens is that factories hire people as subcontractors. So they hire subcontractors, they ask them to bring in 200 laborers who work either on a daily wage rate or a monthly or a piece rate, so number of items produced rate. And so none of the labor protections apply to them. And so even within the manufacturing sector, which has historically been a source of good upward social mobility in the 1930s, 40s across other parts of the world, and in obviously China,
Yeah.
that simply doesn't exist, right?
Yeah.
So and where do sort of people then end up going? They work in construction, like you said. There's been a construction boom in Pakistan over the last 3 decades. In the 1960s, about 1% of Pakistan's labor force used to work in construction.
Yeah.
Now it's 9%. So it's actually gone up by, you can do the math, but it's
Yeah.
it's almost 5 times
Yeah.
greater than what it was, 40, 50 years ago. So construction is the second biggest employer in Lahore, in Karachi, and most other big cities in Pakistan. And construction jobs are terrible. Like
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
seasonal. कि जब project चल रहा है वो चल रहा है, जब नहीं चल रहा वो नहीं चल रहा. And so that's how the economy, and as far as contributing towards the larger economy is concerned, whether this is helping Pakistan's development, it obviously isn't. Construction से taxes बहुत कम receive
Yeah.
होते हैं.
Yeah.
उसी तरह जो है construction की जो jobs हैं वो relatively low productivity हैं. Construction आप export नहीं कर सकते.
Yeah.
So you can't earn dollars with construction. That's at least you can't earn them in any meaningful way. So I think those are some of the ways in which the economy has transformed,
Yeah.
especially these past few decades.
Would we know why these changes are happening? Like, why has the rate of industrial growth not been as great? I mean, that's, I guess, the question, right? कि Pakistan, China क्यों नहीं बना? Pakistan, India क्यों नहीं? Pakistan, Vietnam क्यों नहीं बना, for example?
Vietnam actually is the better comparison. Vietnam and increasingly Bangladesh.
Yeah.
I mean, so we have like a whole bunch of like cookie cutter reasons. People say the bad policy choices. We artificially suppress the dollar. We create these arbitrary distinctions between what kind of goods you can import, what you can't import. There's a lot of uncertainty as far as electricity tariff rates are concerned.
Yeah.
We tend to tax manufacturing businesses a lot compared to, say, we don't tax traders and we don't tax construction and real estate work as much.
Right.
So all of these, and these are all valuable and plausible reasons, and I think that's certainly part of it. I think the one thing that I would add to it is that Pakistan has simply not had like a developmental vision. And by Pakistan, I mean the Pakistani state elite or the Pakistani sort of, policymakers, politicians, the military establishment. We just haven't had a developmental vision of what this economy is supposed to do. right? Is it supposed to industrialize? If you're supposed to industrialize, then that's the idea that you bring to the people, right? That this is the most important thing that we now have to do. Everyone has to play their part in doing this. This is what happened in Korea. This is what happened in China. This is what happened in Vietnam. It's what happened in the Soviet Union in the early 20th century. It's what happened in France in the 19th century. Basically, you need to have an idea of why you're doing this, right? Right now, the great Pakistani economic idea is, oh, well, we need to go to the IMF because we're going to default and then everything's going to go belly up.
Yeah.
And that's why we have to raise petrol prices. Iske baad kya hoga? Like, I mean, what is the broader sort of, standard of living ideology or standard of living idea that you're actually selling to people, right? The great idea that currently sort of dominates in Pakistani urban centers is आप migrate कर दो, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so basically Pakistan का great developmental idea है कि पाकिस्तान छोड़ दो.
Yeah.
So आप basically, I mean,
which is really like this. If you think about it, it's this like blanket aura of like hopelessness.
Yeah, I mean,
इस मुल्क में तो कुछ नहीं है. Like nothing's gonna happen in Pakistan. The best thing you can do for yourself is leave, and stay away. Don't even like. There's not even like come back unless you're like a PTI supporting doctor in the US. वो उसके अलावा
वो भी नहीं आया.